Hey friends, welcome back to another About to Break podcast episode. You know, there is one thing to be said about all this quarantine, and it's that I've got plenty of time to upload new episodes. So I'm super excited. This is episode 135 featuring the amazing, the incredible, the very fun Jessica Jane Peterson. She's a magician, and she spent years and years as a magician's assistant working with other performers. She's got an amazing show of her own. She's just finished a residency back east, and now she's been, the last little while has been here in Los Angeles, based in LA. She's done everything. She's done Fool Us, all the great stuff. But this episode is so fun because we just got into talking, like we so often do as performers, about the times that things went wrong. And so this is a fun and very funny episode. You're going to enjoy it. I had a blast. I'm so glad that we connected. And it's always great when you have a conversation with someone that you just know from a distance, and then they become friends. And so I'm grateful to call her one of my new friends, Jessica Jane. It's going to be so good. Let's get into it. Before we do, I want to thank everyone who's supporting the show over on patreon.com/about to break. I've been posting videos like crazy, tons of funny, silly videos, lots of podcast interviews, a weekly show on Wednesday nights. And as you know, right now I'm not touring. So this is one way that I can just do some good and share some fun things and hopefully brighten your day in the midst of quarantine, but also a great way that you can support what I'm doing by kicking in a couple of bucks. So if you'd like to, for as little as $1 or more a month, you can be one of the producers over at Patreon. I want to thank everybody who's been supporting the show, everyone who's been giving faithfully and committedly. It means a ton to me. I can't believe you would do it. The fact that you would even listen to this stuff blows my mind, and then the fact that you would donate money is just huge. I want to give a big shout out right now to Daniel Will. Daniel's been a longtime supporter, promoter, producer of the show, and he's recently, in a time where I would think people would be deleting their pledges, he's actually increased his by another $5 every month. So thank you so much to Daniel Will. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting the show. It means a ton to me. Let's get into this. An amazing conversation with an amazing performer. Please welcome my new friend, Jessica Jane Peterson.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
There we go.
Woohoo, we're here.
Awesome. Turn it all sideways and whatnot.
Right? We've all become professional Zoomers.
Yeah.
I think I use Zoom like maybe once or twice a month before this, and now it's like 4 or 5 times a day, it seems like.
Yeah, it's so weird. I'm trying to get used to it, but man.
Yeah, it's a new world, a new way of life. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for having me, man. This is fun.
Yeah, this is wild. This is our first, as it goes in the magic world and in entertainment in general, you see what everyone else is doing and your travels and all this. And this is the first time we've actually sat and had a conversation, and we're doing it for the world to hear. So wonderful to meet you.
Awesome. Yeah. And we get social interaction. Isn't this cool?
I know, right? Now, where are you? Are you in LA? You're hunkered down in LA?
North Hollywood. I'm right off Lancashire.
Very cool. And
yeah.
You have all the supplies you need. Everything's good right now.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. I'm lucky. I got off a ship March 7th, and I was supposed to get on a Holland America ship, and they literally announced that I wasn't getting on like 6 hours before my flight.
Oh my goodness.
So I was going to be on the ship. They had just canceled. It was going from San Diego to Hawaii. I think it was Amsterdam. But,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, but it's weird though. I'm like, would I rather be on the ship or in LA?
Right. Where would I rather be quarantined? It depends.
Hawaii?
Yeah. Hawaii is not a bad place to be quarantined, I don't think.
Yeah. As long as they would help me pay for it, for sure.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's, I just talked yesterday with John Armstrong, and he and Vanessa were on a boat for like 2 weeks or something, longer than they were supposed to.
But it was amazing. Did you see the video that he put up
Yeah.
of the Gypsy Thread with Avengers Assemble?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. That is one thing right now that I think out of necessity, everyone's getting uber creative.
Yeah.
So that's really good. We'll have to talk about that some. So
yeah.
Now, is LA a new journey for you? How long have you been in LA? How long has LA been your home base?
I've been here 2 years now. I'm just coming up on 2 years because I left Gatlinburg, Tennessee, right at the beginning right at the end of 2018.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like almost the 2-year mark.
Yeah. And in Gatlinburg, you had a residency there, or how long were you there?
Well, I lived in Gatlinburg for 8 years. I did shows. I did thousands of shows with Terry Evanswood, like thousands.
Yeah.
I created material with him, like came up with methods for things. He called me once from Texas to inform me he'd be a little bit late getting to the show and I had to cover. Like, all sorts of fun things happened at the Terry Evans show. But yeah, I four-walled in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Okay.
But I had like random jobs in between. Like I worked with Ben Black while I was working in Tennessee as a crossbow assistant. He needed somebody at the last minute. So he flew me to Germany to shoot arrows at me, and I thought it was fake. It wasn't.
Yeah,
Really bad vision, by the way, which I learned aiming a crossbow at myself. But that was fun.
So wait a minute. So somebody on a whim was just like, "Hey, I need someone to to do this duo act where I shoot arrows and you have arrows shot at you."
Yeah. Don't do jobs with people you meet on MySpace that you've never met in person. That's the rule.
That's amazing. And so here's my question. When you're shooting arrows or when you're having arrows shot at you, how do you rehearse something like that? I mean,
we didn't. So that was part of the problem. And I'll tell you this off. So apart from the podcast.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. We're back on the show, right? We can share this stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
We are now back. I've known Jessica for like a whole 8 minutes now, personally, as opposed to just Facebook and Instagram. And I have just been told one of the most glorious stories that I can never share. But my heart is so full of joy right now. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. You took a gig having arrows shot at you.
Yes, from a guy I met on MySpace.
From a guy that you met on MySpace. Okay.
But he's awesome. His name's Ben Black.
Yeah.
He was on The Illusionist and stuff, and he needed an assistant at the last minute. And I had been in Pigeon Forge for 2 years. I'd done like over 1,000 shows at Terry Evanswood.
Yeah.
We were about to go on break. I'm like, hey, this sounds fun. I didn't think it was real. It's real.
That's so funny. Yeah, because there are magic tricks where you like shoot an arrow at someone, but this is like this is just legitimately
for John
shooting.
Bundy,
Yeah.
They did a knife throwing act, and like the knives would pop out of the board.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, it's the same thing with the arrows, right?
Yeah.
No, wrong.
You found this out on the way to Germany.
I found
for
it
3
out
months.
in Germany.
Oh, that's fantastic. But was part of it because you grew up around this show business and stuff? Like, were you just like, okay, well, I guess people do this. It must be a thing.
A job.
Yeah. Who books that, right? That sounds terrible. Who books it?
Exactly.
So take me back. Your mom was a magician, was an assistant, part of a duo
My
act.
mom was a magician's assistant, and she worked with John Bundy in the 80s.
So, like, since you were a kid, you just grew up, and this was life.
Is normal. Like, this is normal, normal life. I did not know it wasn't normal.
Right.
I thought everyone had these experiences.
Oh, yeah, no.
Truly. And in fact, so I did Marvin's Magic Theater, Jeff Hobson's
theater.
theater.
Awesome.
A couple months ago. So
congrats. You were one of the only performers to do it before before quarantine.
Dude, it was so much fun, though.
It looks
fun.
amazing.
When it opens again.
It looks amazing.
I go in the theater and there's like the zigzag in the corner. I'm like, oh, yeah, the zigzag. It reminds me of my childhood. because I used to sit in the bottom of the zigzag and play with my Star Wars action figures. Yep. That was my childhood. It was just sitting in Illusions with Star Wars figures and having a great old time. But so I'm talking with Jeff after the show and I'm like, where did you get that one from? And he goes, oh, John Bundy. And I went, wait. That's zigzag?
That's the same one.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
I grew up playing in as a kid.
That is so nuts. That's crazy.
And then we did it. Jeff said he'd never done the zigzag before.
Really?
He'd only been in it. So I hopped in. I had him put the blades in, and we had people from the show standing around it, and they're like, "What in the world is happening right now?"
Oh, I love that so
cool.
much. So I've got two girls, two daughters, and when they were little, they were probably like 3 and 5 at the time.
Okay.
We were practicing a Wakeling sawing in our living room.
Oh, nice.
And like they're so used to this stuff that I'm like, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna hold these swords for daddy, and then mommy's gonna get tied to the table with these leather straps, right? And then you're gonna hand the swords. Like we were doing the whole thing. and the doorbell rings. And,
oh no.
And, yeah, the doorbell rings, and I'm like, okay, hold on, everybody. And so picture the scene. My wife is strapped down to this like Civil War looking table, and my daughters, like barely big enough to hold their heads up, are wielding swords. And the door opens, and I am not joking you. It was 2 Jehovah's Witnesses.
No.
Yes. And they and they look in the door. And they see my wife tied down there and my kids holding these swords, and they take off running. And we lived there for 8 more years, and nobody ever came back to the door from Jehovah's Witness.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Absolute gold.
But I just love that my kids, like, it's like when you grow up in this stuff, it's just normal. It's like, Dad, can you stop floating the table? I can't see the TV, you know?
Oh yeah. And true story. So my parents tried to put me in preschool, and I got kicked out, and this is why. It was through no fault of my own. We had to do that thing where you draw a picture of your parent and what they do for a living.
Yeah.
So I remember my mom was dropping me off at preschool, putting on her blue eyeshadow and her hair to heaven, and going to do shows during the day at Six Flags with John, and then she'd pick me up later. And so she'd come in like these, like with rhinestones on and a cat suit and a denim jacket that John had like hand painted illusions on for. It was super cool. So my mom shows up, and I had done a drawing of my mom on stage, because I watched my mom on stage.
Right.
She would go on stage with John, and she'd move the boxes around. And that's what she did. And so I drew a picture of Mom. And this is, have you ever seen the thing about Home Depot, where it's like the kid has to draw his mom, and people think it's a stripper because there's a shovel and money, and they're like, funny. Oh, she's a stripper. It's a stripper pole or whatever. They're like, no, it's a shovel, and she works at Home Depot, and people pay her. So I drew my mom with the trick, and I said she turns tricks, because in my brain
she spins the boxes around. Oh, that's amazing.
And Sister Margaret was the nun that was the head of this preschool. And when my mom showed up to pick me up that day, they had a long talk, and I never went back to preschool again.
Oh, that's fantastic.
My mom turns tricks.
That's the name of the autobiography. That's yeah, right.
Oh, dude, I didn't know. I had no idea that it wasn't normal. It was just, it made sense, you know?
That's crazy. So when did you go from like, my mom is part of a magic show to I want to be a part of a magic show? I want to do this.
Well, my godparents are Al and Suzanne Belmont. And so I grew up, when my mom ended up pregnant with my sister, she left John Bundy's show, and that's when Morgan started working with him.
Yeah.
And she started helping Al Belmont here and there. It was still a big illusion show.
Right.
And oh God. And then when she stopped doing some of the illusions, because she'd hurt her wrist, she was doing origami, and she literally tore her wrist, like a bunch of stuff in it. It was real bad. But so they ended up putting me in the show. And I remember the first trick, they needed to like shoot me out of a cannon into a drum. It was the old like Blackstone Junior routine.
Oh yeah.
So they'd like flatten me in the ringer, and then they'd put me in the cannon, and they'd fire me into the drum, and I'd appear with like this cockatoo that used to bite the crap out of me backstage. So that was like the first trick. And it was only because they needed me at the last minute. Yeah. And then they realized I could do it. So then my uncle's like, oh, we can saw her in half now. So they put me on the weekling sawing.
Oh my goodness. And how old are you at the time that this is all happening?
13 or 14.
Yeah.
I had just gotten tall enough to be able to do wakeling the way it needs to be done.
Right,
so,
right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have been like long enough. But yeah, I did it, and I started doing more of the illusions. And then I also realized how often I was getting hurt, and I was only like 14, 15, 16 years old. And I knew then I basically cracked my pelvis in one of the illusions. And I was like, there's another side to this. I don't see the magician getting hurt quite as much as I'm getting hurt.
Well, it's. I realized a few years ago, we sold off all of our illusions several years ago. My wife got tired of performing them, and I got tired of building them and moving them and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I realized a few years ago, I was like, oh, every magic trick is like murder that didn't happen at the end. Like, so when the tricks go wrong, you really get hurt. Like,
yes,
I can't tell you how many times we would get through a show, and at the end, my wife would be like, look, and she'd have like a huge gash on her wrist or something, it's just crazy.
we used to play games in Terry's show, and it would be like, where'd that bruise come from? So you'd have to like guess what did it, but then like you'll do tricks so many times, you have no idea. Like I literally have a permanent ridge on the top of my foot in the bone from kneeling down to do the water levitation thousands of times and having my foot hanging off the back. Because we did 2 to 3 shows a day, 6 days a week for years. And it's weird, like, I have a ridge in my bone from it. Because I did it that much.
That's crazy.
Just strange. But I was tired of getting hurt. And I realized that I loved magic, but I wanted to be a part of magic. And again, I hadn't seen a female magician. So finally, the Melinda Disney special came on.
I was going to say,
Melinda,
like when I was a kid, like Melinda was the first time I ever saw it. Would have been Melinda.
Oh, yeah.
Jade was doing magic. Princess
Galena?
Tanko.
Princess Tanko was amazing.
I saw Princess,
figure.
She had an action figure?
Oh, yeah, she did. And a cartoon. And I used to take her in the bathtub and
do the water toy. That's fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic. So you saw Melinda and you were like, okay.
Oh yeah.
This is a thing. I can do this.
I can do this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And Princess Tanko too, and like Juliana Chen, and like those World's Greatest Magic specials were coming out. I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like I can totally do this. I don't have to be in the box. I can be the magician. Yeah. And we went to Abbott's Get Together when I was like 13.
Okay.
I remember Michael Finney and Stephen Bargatze were headlining it. I got to see Jay Marshall do Lefty. Oh man.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was amazing. Like, talk about an awesome first magic convention. We were performing on the show.
Isn't it fun looking back and thinking about the performers you got to see in person, and like you enjoyed it then, but you didn't fully, at least like I didn't fully appreciate who I was seeing. Like sitting at the castle and having Billy McComb like walk in and do stuff for us. Like, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I met this nice old guy, John Calvert, like teaching me coin effects. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these are like legends.
They're heroes.
Yeah.
They're our magic heroes. Man, like seeing Jay, and like even like my modern day idols, like I love Stephen Bargatze so much. And I never thought at 13 years old watching him do the straitjacket that I'd be on a plane 13 years later flying to Greenland to do an armed forces show with him. I'm like, this is
so
such
cool.
a strange world.
We have like our world is so unique in that I know magicians, we talk about it all the time, but like as a singer, you can't be like, oh, I really, I want to be a singer. I think I'll just call up Ryan Tedder or, I think I'll just try to go see Bono next time I'm at the Greek Theater. I'll just walk up and talk to him. But like in magic, you literally meet like my friends now are people that like as a kid, I was like heroes.
Yeah.
And they're still heroes, but it's just, it's so weird how small the world is.
But that's what changed everything for me. So like I started getting Magic Magazine, right? And I saw the ad for the Lance Burton Teen Weekend.
Yes.
And I loved Lance Burton. Like Lance Burton is still my favorite magician and favorite human of all time.
Yeah.
And so I talked to my dad because my parents had gotten divorced and it was a really messy divorce. It got really bad. So my mom was like, there's no way your dad's going to take you to Las Vegas. Yeah. And so I went back to my dad and I was like, Mom said, there's no way that you'll take me. And he's like, okay, pack your bags, kid. We're going to Vegas. That's all I had to say.
You used spite.
I did.
It's like, this is like the opposite of the Parent Trap. You're like, I'm not trying to get them together. I'm trying to keep them apart. It's good for business, kid.
My magic career will
Right.
So we went and I was so crazy because I started in illusions and like worked my way to like close up and parlor. And I went to Las Vegas with a metamorphosis and a levitation. It was the one that had the mirror where it was the two bars and the sign would turn and you could show behind the levitation. My dad and I shipped those to Las Vegas for my first teen competition. It was crazy. And the illusions were almost held in the facility. We had to borrow a truck and go get them expedited. And I was the first one on the competition. It was my first magic competition.
Oh my goodness.
And I wish I knew I could have performed parlor. But in my world, magic was illusions.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could do a parlor act and pack it in a bag. I have 80 minutes in my backpack now. Like, I would have never dreamed. I thought everything had to be a big box because that's how I was raised.
See, I love this because I grew up here in California, about 30 miles east from the castle. And there was this little shop in La Puente called the Magic Shop. And so that was like my first place that I went, and I met like all these magicians that I still know today, like came from this little shop. But what's crazy is the guy owned all of these like zigzag sword box, like all of these Owens illusions and Aga levitation.
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
Like, and so we would do on Friday nights, we would do a magic show, and he'd just be like, all right, you're new to the magic club. I hear you have a girlfriend. You guys are doing the sword box this week. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And he's like, don't worry, you'll figure it out.
Oh
and he'd be to my buddy Sorab, he'd be like, you're gonna do a dove act. He's like, I don't have doves. He's like, yeah, you can use my doves. But like, seriously, since I started in magic, it was always like, you got to have big equipment. You got to have all the stuff, like, you know?
Yeah. And I was used to like crates. Like, I remember as a kid, the shows would come in one door, we do the illusion, and it would go out the other door, and we packed during the show. And I got packed away as a kid. I was in a crystal casket, and the magician skipped the trick. But nobody told me.
You were loaded in it?
Yep. And so I'm just kind of there doing my thing, and the music's loud, and then there's no music, and then I'm like moving in the air, and I'm very confused because they had lifted me and put me in the ATA case.
Oh my goodness.
And then all of a sudden there was no sound. Oh, I didn't show up to do origami, and they realized that they packed me away.
No.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
He like claps his hands, and I don't come on stage. I'm like, where's Jeff? Oh my God. It's a casket.
But they become so efficient with striking the show that they've already loaded you on the truck. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many nightmarish stories surrounding illusions.
Oh my God.
We were doing an illusion a couple years ago where I had to do a runaround to the back of the theater. And, you know, like when you're traveling, you're not always in a theater. Like this was like a Catholic, it's like a Catholic church auditorium that we were doing for the Boy Scouts, like this big, like 600 people Boy Scout show. Right. And I'm supposed to do a runaround, and we'd rehearse during the day. And then my wife noticed during the show, she noticed that whenever people opened the door from the lobby where I was doing the runaround, light would just pour in, and everyone would turn around and look. And so, and so she put a sign. They locked the door because I'm on stage. They locked the door. They put a sign that said, "Not here. This won't work." And I had to like run around and find, like I went outside the building, and I ran around and accidentally like walked into some catechism class and had to apologize. I'm sorry. And then leave. And like just totally like figure out a new way to get into the building while it was happening.
Oh, dude, on a ship, I was working a ship, and I had to run around. And you know how like they'll close off the open deck if it gets really, really bad. Right. But you forget about that when you're doing the show.
Right.
So it was in Europe. It was one of Connie Boyd's production shows, and she cast me as the illusionist, and there were 9 dancers. So we had a good team of people working. So I do a costume change. I'm going to do the runaround, which consists of opening one of the outside doors, running outside the ship, going back inside, going up a deck, and appearing, which had worked fine for a while.
Yeah.
And it was stormy, and I should have thought about it, and it was rocky. It was all I could do to get the door open. I had to grab the wall because it was so windy and rainy, and my wig blew off. I was working at a double in the show, so I had to record a wig. So it was gone. And the guy that opened the door on the other side noticed my hair was gone and went looking for it, and they had to call the environmental number because it went overboard, and they had to report it. It was crazy. But then I get inside. Now I have no hair. And all of a sudden, it was Christmas week. There were more kids than we've ever had. They parked all the strollers at the entrance that I used to get into the theater. So now I'm climbing over strollers with no hair, soaking wet. It was a mess. It was an absolute mess. That show. Oh, here's another disaster story for you.
Oh, I love it.
So
this is perfect. The show's called About to Break. So this is.
These are great. So I'm doing Metamorphosis in that show. And we had a straitjacket escape. So I get in the straitjacket and then get put in the Metamorphosis straitjacket. And it was like to this Matrix music, and Jodie Spina choreographed it. And there's like the sexy guys and stuff. So not my style, though.
A slow motion.
Such a goofball.
There's strobing. There's lots of strobing, slow motion.
They're, like the guys did like all these dance moves. And they had trench coats on and,
glasses. I'm there. I'm with you. Yeah.
So my costume,
at a certain point,
I
we
did
hear
not
Morpheus.
choose them. Oh yeah, no, Morpheus did them. Morpheus was the music.
Yeah.
Dude, yes. So I did not pick my costumes for this show, and it was more of an adult show, and it was on the ship, and I had this like black fishnet suit, and then it was this red bikini thing over it. But I did so many costume changes, they didn't let me wear anything underneath stuff, so there weren't lines because the dancers were big on that. I did like 10 costume changes in 45 minutes in this show. And so we go to do a Metamorphosis, and I was working with these 3 guys from South Africa. The one assistant's name was Mandela, and he was great. His voice, the way he talked, he's like, "Oh, darling, hello, darling." So
amazing.
He's very cool on stage, very chill. We go to do Metamorphosis. I'm in the straitjacket. The boys lift me into the straitjacket. We do like look to the right, look to the left, nod, get in the bag.
Yeah.
So I get out of the straitjacket. What I don't realize is the one of the straps caught the bottoms, the underwear over the fishnet suit, and when I moved it, it pulled them off. And I didn't feel it, didn't know.
Right.
So we do the Metamorphosis switch, and the curtain drops, and I'm standing on one leg on either side, and one of the boys looks over and goes, "Oh, darling, your butt's naked." And I look down, and there's nothing there. I just have the fishnet suit, and there is nothing. And I look out at the audience, and I pull my leg across and cover. I literally appeared standing like this and just went to the side. And I had to finish the trick. They lifted me off of the box, and the guy came out with my underwear on his head.
How are the reviews?
I'll tell you what.
We got booked
People
again.
Were
we got
friendlier to me that week than they ever were on that ship.
The awkward cruise ship bar conversation got worse after that.
Oh, dude! And what was worse is I was the only one there that spoke English as a first language. It was mainly like a German and Japanese cruise, and it was interesting. I didn't know what they were saying, but I had an idea.
Yeah. Oh my goodness!
It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster.
Why do we do this? because as we're talking about it, we're like, this is awful, but then you tell a story and you're like, isn't it fun?
It is fun. And it's funny how like in those moments you're like, I'll never admit this happened. And then you're like, hey guys, you want to hear the story? I've literally told it on a Holland America ship. We were doing a question and answer because it was a rocky night, and we'd had so many rocky nights. I think I did like 3 different 45-minute shows in the first like 5 days.
Oh, wow.
And so they were out of entertainers. They canceled the dance show at the last minute. And so me and one of the comedians went up and did a question and answer with like 1,000 people. And they asked if I'd ever had anything go wrong. And I told that story. And I told them, like, I never thought, I was wishing this moment would go away for the rest of my life. And I'm telling 1,000 of you in a theater about it right now.
Oh my goodness. It's crazy.
Oh God.
Yeah, we kind of in our household we have this saying where we say if it's going to be funny later, it's funny now. So we have to give ourselves permission. Look, we're going to laugh about this. If it's awful, it means we're going to tell it at every party for the next 50 years.
Yep.
We might as well just enjoy this moment.
Oh man, there's so many. So many. Especially again too with all the different types of shows that I've done, because when I was 17 I ran away with a circus sideshow. So like it was Ward Hall's, it was like the last Tenon still touring, and Ward was still on the show.
What?
So I got to work the ballet stage with him. He taught me to eat fire. He taught me to eat light bulbs, walk on broken glass, sword ladder, like all that stuff. We learned pincushion. Like what? I never thought, I didn't want to learn any of this. Right. I just needed money. Not that it paid a lot. But
right. But you're like, there's, God. I get a couple meals.
Yeah, but like doing that, and I'll tell you what too, it's talk about to break. That is what almost broke me.
Yeah.
I I was so poor on that show that I was working, because we did a grind show. It was 20 to 30 shows a day. Ferris wheel turns on. You go until the Ferris wheel turns off. We set up the tent ourselves. We put up the banner ourselves. We put the tent stakes in the ground. I learned how to put tent stakes through like asphalt, cement, and clay at those fairgrounds and then pull them out.
This is like vaudeville. You're living vaudeville.
Oh, yeah. Total vaudeville. But we had so little money. I remember walking to Wendy's every night at the Ohio State Fair, and it was like a 2-mile walk, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'd have just enough money for like a cheeseburger. And then I would ask the lady for a bag of the saltines before they used to hide them behind the counter and ketchup. And I would go 2 to 3 days living off saltines and ketchup at the sideshow. That was what I ate.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, true story. Like God, because the fair food was expensive. I didn't have, $8 for a corn dog when I'm not making anything.
Well, you know what's bad is I'm like, that sounds terrible. How are the audiences? Were the shows fun?
Oh, man. So many things happened at that show.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We'd have times where it was packed. We'd have like 100, 200 people jam-packed in that tent. But you also had days when it's 110 degrees. You're on asphalt. You're in Florida. It's humid. There's like 10 people that are miserable that only came in the tent because they thought there was shade.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's hotter. And then we're eating fire. And
you had me at Florida.
Oh yeah, dude, the nastiest thing though, it just felt so warm and gross.
Yeah.
I was 2 of the legs of the 4-legged girl. On the show. So like I had to be in this chair, right? And they would say they had a 4-legged girl, but it was partially me.
Yeah.
But man, like being in this weird chair in 110 degree heat, smelling like kerosene with broken glass still in my teeth. Oh God. I used to have to we would let the snake out every morning and we'd spray down the snake. We had like this 22-foot long snake on the show.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I had to help with her. Her name was Cupcake. She was lovely. But
is this like the worst gig you've ever had? Would you say like this season was the roughest for you?
Oh no.
Oh, I love it. You're like, oh no, this was a good one. This was one of the
no, that was that.
I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him about doing that. I'm talking about doing next year with him.
I'll tell you what, and I mean this. I genuinely mean this. My friend Tommy took over the show, and now there's like running water and electricity. I would go back. Yeah, I would go back for a short run just to do it again. Because man, that was life. That was life.
There is something, I mean, show business in general is all about survival, right? Like being on stage, you're going to go up there and do something incredibly vulnerable that may not work, that's highly technical, right? And you're going to hope that people like it and respond well. Like, so you're already used to surviving. But then when you add the fact that like, okay, I'm going to live off saltines and ketchup at the same time. And they're going to taste like kerosene because it's all I'm drinking,
Oh yeah, that's why when the news came out with like the whole quarantine thing, I'm like, well, wait a second. Not only am I already used to this because I work on cruise ships like 160 to 180 days a year. Right. I stay in a little tiny room. I get food every once in a while. It depends if my show was early in the week or late in the week. Yeah. Like I stay in here. I find ways to keep myself busy. I don't get off the ship when I'm on NCL because you're crew on that line. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll just stay on board because it's easier. Like I've quarantined myself for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Right. I've shared with a few folks. I think that entertainers, although our industry is hit ridiculously hard, it's non-existent at this point. Yeah. But I do think that entertainers are better prepped than most people. First of all, we all have seasons where we're like, I don't know when the next check's coming, or, got to make this stretch because, I've had the most money I've ever had in this month, and then I've got 2 months that are really light. Yeah. And just, like you said, just the survival of just so much of it is just getting to the point where you perform. Like just get to the place, get to the airport, find a car, do the thing, we're masters of this. Yeah.
We're actual masters.
Yeah. Our life is like the Hunger Games. I'm not worried about toilet paper. We'll be fine. We'll work it out.
Yeah. No, I'm more worried like having to follow the juggler than I am about going on to the show and finding toilet paper.
Isn't that so funny? I love, as performers, we're always, no matter how many times, I mean, you've done thousands and thousands of shows.
Yeah.
But you still get to those moments where you're like, I gotta follow a juggler.
Yeah.
Like
oh man.
I did a show. I hosted a show about a little over a month ago at Dynasty here in LA. And we had like every person on the bill other than me had a Netflix special. Like every single person on the bill other than me already had a Netflix show. And one of them literally just did the Tonight Show the night before.
Oh my God.
And I'm introducing myself and she's like, oh, so tell me about yourself. I'm like, well, I'm a magician. And she's like, I have to follow magic. I'm like, you're doing all the things. Why are we all so insecure sometimes?
Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a weird world.
It's our brains. But I figure I'm like, I used to eat crackers and ketchup as my daily meal. I can get through this.
Yeah. So I got to ask, because like, obviously you've gone through all these crazy stories and experiences and adventures. Has there ever been a time where you've considered like just leaving the business and doing something else? Has there ever been a moment where you've been like, I don't know if I want to keep grinding it out?
Believe it or not, it was right after Fool Us.
Really?
I taped Fool Us and I didn't know about YouTube. I did not know about trolls on YouTube.
Oh.
And I thought that it had gone okay. And then I started reading comments and I texted Lance Burton. I'm like, I thought I did a good job and I didn't. Everyone hates me. And he's like, darling, don't read those comments. Those people have never done anything in their lives. Like,
That's a great Lance, by the way.
Oh God. I had no idea. And then I got two very strange letters, because at the time I was working in Terry Evanswood's show, so people knew where I was every day at 5:30, 8 o'clock, you know?
Yeah. And
so I had two letters sent to me that were like death threats.
What?
Seriously.
From doing Fool Us?
Fool Us. Yes, they saw me on there and and one guy just decided that he did not like me. I don't know what I did, but he decided he did not like me. And the other guy was, I don't know how to put it. The police, because I had to go to the police with these, the police said that obviously these people had done this before because they knew the extent you could threaten someone without getting in trouble. And one of the cops even told me, he goes, I have daughters though, so this is my cell phone number. If you get another message from this guy, true story. And it was so bad and I was so stressed and I thought that I sucked so badly. And I'm like, maybe I should just stop. And I never thought it would be after doing my first ever television thing. But I got so down, man. Like I was depressed. I thought I was terrible. And I'm like, yep, no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with entertainment. I'm gonna go. What did I decide? I was like, I'm gonna be a cocktail waitress. I'm like, I'll be the youngest cocktail waitress in Atlantic City.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But yeah. That was the moment. And I, at one other point, when I was doing Terry's show, I think it was like 3 years in, I had done thousands and thousands of shows. I remember waking up one day and going, is this it?
Yeah.
Like my life is Groundhog Day. It's been Groundhog Day for 3 years. Like what am I doing? And that's when I got the call. I literally got the call to do that crossbow gig a week after I had that thought. Wow. And the crossbow gig was so exciting, it actually saved me because I'm afraid I would have walked away from entertainment.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially like when you get in that moment, we all have that moment in Groundhog Day where you've done the same thing so many times. Yeah. I did this, like I said, I did 122 shows in 6 weeks in Branson last summer.
Oh, dang.
And halfway through the run, you get to this point where you're just like, did I say this yet to these people? Did I do that? Look, I know the order of the show, but did I already do that thing?
Yep.
I had a moment where the show was so bad and it was so hot and the audience was just miserable. And I did the show and I just got off stage and I was really psyching myself up. Like, it's okay. Get back out there. You got 2 more shows. This is going to be great. 2 more shows today. I walk out I come from behind the curtain. They introduce me. I walk behind the curtain, and dead center, sitting in the front row, is a woman who has one of those plastic like McDonald's trays that they have at the theme parks for the food, and it's just no plate, just a plastic tray covered in ribs. Just a pile of ribs, and she's just hunkered down, just like, it's like hunched over and just shoving one rib after another into her mouth. And I'm just looking at like, what have I done with my life? This is my life. I'm ambient entertainment to rib eating.
Well, I remember, that's the fairs though, right? Too, like you get those people, like all the food's on a stick, so like they got these bouquets of like artery clogging food.
Yeah. And
I remember, you know what? There was a third time I almost lost it. I just remembered it with you saying that. I was working the Meadowlands Fair in northern New Jersey.
Yeah,
and we had a religious group that required I be completely covered on stage, even my hands. They were like, you're a woman. You can't show your arms or your shoulders or your neck or your ankles or your hands. And I went, whoa.
Who are these people who can't handle seeing someone's hands with just having like a fit?
I know.
Like man. Like, I think the problem is the person that cannot handle seeing someone's skin without losing their mind.
Here's the thing. And you mean to tell me this group rented out the entire state fair?
They did a buyout?
They're not okay.
This is like during the fair. They did a...
Yeah, it was like 9 a.m. because I remember I had a 9:45 a.m. show that I was not thrilled over.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
But they opened the gates and it's mainly children. And I remember standing on the stage and watching them all in their little uniforms start running. And like it was like in those movies,
like the Kimmy Schmidt outfits, like the
seriously, it almost there, man.
Okay,
almost there, but all boys,
okay.
Boys. So they're all like, I'd say between 8 and 12. And you know, in those movies where like there's about to be a battle and the army comes over the hill and like it just doesn't stop, like in Lord of the Rings when the orcs come out, this was that. And I'm standing on the stage going, oh my god! I went backstage. There were illusions on the stage that were set, right? There was like a cube zag and stuff. And there's kids that start coming on the stage and they're picking up stuff. And there's so many of them. I can't do anything. I turn on the microphone and I couldn't take it anymore. I said, if you don't stop, God won't love you anymore.
Did you really say it?
I did. And they all stopped and they left. And, yeah, if you won't stop, God won't love you anymore.
They're probably used to hearing that, so they reacted.
I'm like, oh, so this works. I'm like, yeah, I can do this show.
We all have our limits. I'm usually very sensitive to people on stage, and
same here.
And this last summer, again, I think it was show 106 of 122. And I brought this kid up on stage.
Not that you were keeping track.
No, not that I was keeping track. Like I go back to my cell at night and carve it in the wall.
You're like with your fingernails.
Yes. Yeah. I don't see light anymore. But I had this kid on stage who I'm doing a routine with him, and I was doing Hobson's balloon bag.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this a version of that with this kid on stage, and he. At a certain point, something clicks in his head. Like you see him go from this sweet kid to he just decides, I'm going to destroy this man's life. Like, and so he starts like, I say, here, hold on to this. And I go to hand him the balloon and he drops it. And I laugh. Oh, that's funny. Here, hold on to this. And he drops it again. And I say, no, buddy, I just really need you. And literally there's like 10 seconds left of, I need him to hold this balloon, do a thing with it. And then he's done. Right. But he slaps it out of my hand. and I looked at him and I said, and this is in there at Silver Dollar City and their big outdoor, there's like 3,000 people out there.
Steal your Dollar City.
Exactly. They're out there, the big thing. And I say to him, look, buddy, there's only two ways this can go. Either you can help me or you can go sit down and I'll get someone else. What do you want to do? Do you want to sit down or do you want to stay? I'm doing this in front of 3,000 people. And he goes, I want to stay. And I said, great. Then I need you to be quiet and do exactly what I tell you to do. And he picked up the balloon and held it, and people applauded. And at that moment, I should have left it alone. But then I turned to his parents who were in the front row and I said, and see, if you would handle it that way at home, he wouldn't act this way when you leave the house.
Oh my God.
And then I immediately was like, I'm fired. I'm never going to work here again.
Yes.
No one cared. I was like so scared though. I was like, what have I done? I just cracked. I couldn't handle it. The pressure.
Dude, you know the Bargatze story, right? Where he was,
no.
What was the park he was working? It's how he found himself as a performer, like his I hate kids mentality.
Yeah. That came from like a real scenario.
Oh, he was a clown at an amusement park. And he said it was back in the days when people would drop off their kids and pick them up, after work.
Yeah.
And he was doing a show and he ended up doing so many shows a day, he was done and he tried to quit. And they're like, you have a contract. And so his wife was like, well, get yourself fired. And so he tried and he decided to start just being a jerk to kids. And he did the clatterbox routine. His area was by one of those log flumes.
Yeah.
And so he would stand the kid blindfolded on this thing and with the clatterbox and wait for the waves to wash over him and knock him into a ditch. And not only did they not fire him, it became the most popular moment in the park every day. And kids would fight over being the kid that he treated like crap. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that amazing?
That is so funny.
I love Stephen Bargatze, man.
Oh man,
those moments.
So good. It's crazy. It's crazy how good he is. And then Nate, his son, like,
oh my gosh,
one of the best comedians around.
Yeah.
I mean, but how can you not grow up with material when you grow up like that? His whole thing about like, have you ever been yelled at by a man in full clown makeup? Because I have. So good.
Oh man, it's so good.
That's crazy.
I love my mom and I used to get in fights on stage too because she yelled at me while we were on stage. Jessica, wait till we get home, and she's smiling at the same time.
Oh
she's
yeah,
got
I know
this
that.
Big smile. So she'd yell at me. Oh man, we would get in so much trouble. But because we were just doing shows all day, that's where everything took place.
Right.
So it's like mom might hand something to you a little stronger than she usually does, And it's funny too when you do so many shows with people, like they start being able to express other feelings on stage.
Yes.
Like I was working with Terry Evans when we'd done thousands of shows, and I could tell when he would get angry over something, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing a show, and there's like 300 people in Wonderworks, and you've probably had it too. You know when those kids wear those shoes that light up?
Yes.
And they'll like kick their shoes and they flash. It used to drive him crazy. And so there's this green light in the back of the theater and it's driving him nuts. And he's doing his card manipulation act, Starry, Starry Night. And I hear him go, Jesse. And so he's going to pull cards from behind his ear and I'm blowing the fog to him. I'm like, what? What is it? He's like, that light is driving me up the wall. He's like, you have to do something about it.
Meanwhile, he's like
Oh yeah, to this beautiful routine about Vincent Van Gogh, and it's like slow motion and blue light. And he's like, he goes, whatever that is, I want you to go and turn it off. And I was like, Terry, he goes, do it now. He's like, you have time before origami. I'm like, oh, okay. So thinking that maybe I can't turn it off, I brought a piece of black gaff tape, and I figure, well, that way I'll just cover it up. I can't get in trouble with the audience member.
Right.
But Terry's happy.
Right.
Oh my God. I got to the back of the theater. It was a breathing machine. I heard Terry in my head going, whatever it is, turn it off. And I lost it.
You're like
sleep. I literally had to ask the lady, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I put this piece of tape over that light. And I felt so bad. But we went to he does this
She's
Titanic themed.
Do whatever you need to do.
The best moment. Dude. We go to do the water levitation later, and his water levitation is like Titanic themed, so it's to be like the super romantic thing. My heart will go on, and we like lip Jack and Roses. lines to each other. And so we finished the water lev and we like go into this embrace. And she's like, yeah, he's like, don't let go. I'm like, I'll never let go, Jack. I'll never let go. And his head's against mine. And we're doing like playing the romantic part. And he goes, so what was it? And right before the curtain closed, I just whispered, it was a breathing machine. And he lost it. He was gone. That man was gone. I've never heard him laugh that loud. So you just hear the end of My Heart Will Go On and this man laughing maniacally. Oh God, it was so good. It was so good.
That's my favorite story ever.
Whatever it is, turn it off.
I'm gonna need a pillow. Don't let the nurse in here. Oh my goodness.
God, I forget all this stuff. I never
Isn't
get to
crazy?
talk about these things. It's like they all flood back.
A couple 2 years ago, I did an episode at Magic Live, and I just walked around and asked everybody, like, tell me your worst story. And so I have like the amazing Jonathan and Johnny Thompson and like all these people that just shared. Like Johnny Thompson shared a story, you probably heard it, of like when he went on stage to do a dove act and forgot to load the birds.
I haven't heard this.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
Yeah, he walks on stage and he goes to do his dove act and he realizes he doesn't have any birds. And so he's like whispering to Pam in the wings, like, bring me anything that doesn't have a bird. So he's like, I told that to my friend afterward, and he says, what did you do? He said 35 minutes, like I was contracted. Such a pro.
So good.
Oh,
man,
my
I remember
goodness.
seeing John Calvert. He was lecturing in a ring. I think this was like, how they claimed that he died like 4 times? This was after like the second time they were saying that he was dead, but he was still alive and touring.
Yeah.
I was like, that man, I
Doing
swear, I think he's
cabinet.
still alive somewhere. I swear he's in Mexico.
He is.
Just like
On a boat, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so he and Tammy are doing this magic ring, and he's doing the dancing handkerchief, and he's doing Casper. And this is my favorite thing I've ever seen. No, there's 2, and I won't name the other magician when I tell this story, but it's funny.
I'll guess. Can I guess?
So you can guess. So he's going to do the dancing handkerchief, and he's missing doing what he needs to do.
Right, yeah.
Because he can't see anything. The poor man's like half blind at this point. And Tammy starts yelling at him from the wing. She's like, no, John, no, John, no, forward, John, forward, John, no. And now he starts yelling back at her because he just gets to the point where he can hear her. And they have a full out fight while Casper is like dancing up and down on stage. I was losing it. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
So here's another one for you. And okay. I felt so bad.
This is the one you won't name.
Oh no, I never go to magic shows on opening night because I know that everything goes wrong. So I try to just never go. But I was only in town for one night and I really wanted to see this show open. And there was a levitation in it. And oh man, this was not this guy's fault at all. I will preface it by saying this. So the girl starts floating. She's floating. She gets really high up.
Oh no.
And all of a sudden he goes to gesture for her to come down and she doesn't start moving. She's just kind of floating in midair, and he's like doing the gestures and she's not moving.
No.
And you just see her sort of turn her head to the side and go, what's wrong? And he's like, I don't know. And so she's starting to like lose strength and is like sort of like just kind of hanging.
No.
And he goes to ask for the curtain to come down, and it was one of those like guillotine style curtains, and the curtain broke.
No.
And the curtain wouldn't come down. And it's this girl just floating in the air with no curtain. And he had to ask the audience to get up and leave the theater.
Oh.
But like,
for this to work, I'm going to need everyone to close their eyes.
Oh, dude. I like, they had to like get her down. I felt so bad for her.
I once saw a magician at a county fair doing the Lester Lake head chopper.
Yeah.
And it went down, but it wouldn't go back up. And he could not get the blade out. And they had to like have the guy like scoot off stage and I guess disassemble it or something. They literally could not get it to come back up. It was like jammed or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, guillotine story for you. So my Uncle Al.
We just name an illusion and we'll have stories for it. This is great.
Yeah. No, Uncle Al had one of the the hardcore Owens ones that were like the heavy blade. They looked awful.
Oh,
Super
yeah.
high up, huge
Big old
blade.
wooden block with a metal blade
Oh,
on it,
yeah.
diagonal.
And those things were vicious looking.
The one that really would chop your head. They had like two versions. One would chop and not hurt, and one your head would go in a basket.
Yeah. So we had the basket one at the sideshow. This one was one you could put a volunteer in, and it would like cut the carrots on either side. So, get ready, man. Get ready. So we would use a volunteer for it. He would stand on one side, and then my aunt taught me to stand on the other side. But I'd always have my hand holding the wood under the blade. So that way there was never a way the blade could fall because it was really old. And sometimes like it would just go. So I would always hold the blade up. So we get this girl on stage and we're trying to get her to go into the guillotine. And she's like, no. And I'm whispering to her, it's all going to be okay. And I did not see this coming. I did not see it coming. My uncle goes, Jesse, how about, why don't you just show her the way that you kneel into the thing and then she won't be scared. And I do it. Well, now there's no one holding the safety on the thing.
No.
He puts the thing over my head, locks me in place. The thing falls. Totally bruises the back of my neck.
Oh my gosh.
Cuts the back. The weight. I mean, it was blunt, but the weight
was
and
so
the
much
reaction
weight. Oh my
so much
goodness.
weight. And it fell so far.
Oh
and
my goodness,
the
that's
scream
awful.
of the volunteer who we had been trying to convince that it was safe.
Oh my goodness.
It was awful. It was awful. Like I never did it again.
Oh
I
my
never
goodness.
did it again.
So bad.
You can't write this stuff, man.
So bad. Okay, I have one that's not scary, but it is my most embarrassing moment on stage ever.
Okay.
And I think in like 140 episodes, I've never told this story on here.
Oh, so excited.
So I was doing a PTA fundraiser night where they were going to do two shows. It was a 7:00 show and a 9:00 show. And at the time when I was doing these school shows, I would offer, we can either like saw someone in half or make someone appear, like the vice principal or the PTA president or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had sold them on doing a appearance of the principal. And it was one of those Bryce's screens, like, the creative magic.
The folding ones
which is a terrible illusion, but it's like the simplest way to make somebody appear without them having to do anything.
They can't mess it up.
They cannot mess it up. It's and it's one of those tricks whenever you see it, people go, oh, they're only clapping because they didn't know that person was going to be on stage. It's a terrible, terrible trick. So I have my buddy from college is going to help me do the trick. And I explained to him how we're going to fold it, and the way it works.
Put it in a little triangle.
Yeah. You fold it, and then you put your hands in these little tabs, and you do the Velcro, and it opens up. Well, I had a very a nice way of saying that I needed to make sure the person would fit in this prop because they got to pick the person. But it needed to be, they needed, there was restrictions. And so I would talk to them about how, if this doesn't work for the person that you want to intend, we can do something else. But to do this trick, the person needs to be of a certain, build. And, they just need to be able to stand in this space. Well, I get there. They told me, Mrs. whoever, I won't say her name, but she's going to be great. And she's very petite and it's going to be perfect. And she was a larger lady. Like she was just a larger build, right? Than normally would go in this compartment. But there was still plenty of space. And so I demonstrated to her, okay, that, when you get in there, imagine you're in like a box and you're in the one corner of the box. So you stand toward the back. So I say, stand way toward the back and the thing will move around you. The inside doesn't move at all. And then when we open it, you step forward, right? After we open it, you step forward. Well, Jessica, she says, okay, so we practice it. It works great. Well, during the show, she steps forward inside it. So she's like, her body is like pressed against the seam that's going to open, right? And my friend, we're folding. My friend, like, imagine, like, here is her blouse, right? My friend folds and he puts his hand in to grab the thing, but he actually, and it's fabric. And so he doesn't know, he grabs like her blouse. No. And so we open the thing and buttons just go flying. And the principal is standing there in all of her glory in front of the whole elementary school. And kids are freaking out. And I'm like, wow, they really like this trick. Because, I'm just like doing one of these. I'm looking at them. And the poor principal is standing there in her, in just like her undergarments in front of the whole school. And this was the 7:00 show. And we had to do it again at the 9.
No.
And luckily, I totally thought like I was going to end the show and the police would be waiting for me. But I ended the show and she didn't say anything about it. She had a different shirt on. She just assumed like, she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was an older shirt. I didn't know that it was,
Oh,
So
bless her heart.
Yeah, bless her heart. I totally let her think it was her fault. And it was the worst, most terrible thing ever happened.
Oh, that's amazing, though.
Yeah.
Oh man, my other illusion one I will share with you.
Yes.
Terry and I decided for fun we were going to this luau party at like this performer's house in Pigeon Forge, and so they set up this
a luau in Pigeon Forge. I love it.
So we did it in their backyard, and they wanted performers from all the local shows because there's so many theaters there to do something. So they set up this curtain, right, and they had all these people around their pool. And Terry found this tiki-style dollhouse. And he's like, this is great. And it came from somebody's collection. We're like, yeah, we'll do it. This will be fun. And he found we found this redheaded Barbie. And we're like, this will be like the tiki goddess. And we'll put it in the thing. He's like,
got a whole vibe. There's a whole vibe going on. Yeah.
And then I'll have the same costume on. And then I'll do my fire eating act. And I'll do the fire eating. And
it's perfect. You've got a whole custom thing.
Oh, yeah. So I think we got a little too big for our britches there, and we ran through it once, and we're like, yeah, we're fine, we're good. And we didn't really take a good look at the prop. We didn't really inspect it well. So they put me in this dollhouse type thing, and they needed to get me to the pool, but they had to like go up steps and stuff, so I had to be preloaded in the driveway. So Terry and this guy carried the tiki dollhouse, and they put it on the stage area, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that they've carried it up 6 steps and then put it in front of the curtain. First thing. I don't know this. So Terry's doing this whole buildup, and he made it super dramatic. It was awesome. He had this tiki music, and there was a drum beat that was building throughout it. So you know how there's the little itty bitty doors in the front of the dollhouse?
Yep. Yeah.
So he goes to make me appear, and you know how you stand up out of it, and the door goes. Well, Terry forgot to unlock the doors on the top of the dollhouse. So I stood up, and he also had not connected it to the base.
So the whole house, the whole house just listens up.
Legs. It sprouts legs, and I panicked so much. I've watched video. I have video.
You have video of this?
I put my hands through those tiny little freaking doors, and I shimmied it down my waist, and I literally got out. And Terry was so impressed. He's like, "How the hell did you?" He goes, "You didn't miss a beat. I put my arm out and spun me around. I posed, and then I went to go off stage, and I fell down 6 steps." After I got through all of that. And in the video, you see me wave, and then I go through the curtain, and I instantaneously disappear because I'm on the freaking floor. And then I had to do my fire eating act. But the image of this dollhouse growing legs and looking around side to side because I couldn't see anything, and then diving through the doors and shimmying it down. Oh my God, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh, that is so good. Oh my goodness. This has been one of the funnest conversations I've had in the longest time.
Me too.
This is so great. I did not intend for this just to be us sharing the best stories ever. This is so good. Thank you for doing this.
Dude, this is fun.
Oh, what have you been doing during quarantine to keep yourself busy or motivated? Do you have any tips, or has it just been chilling at home? Staycation mode?
I've been working on my cruise ship show because I I like rotating things in and out because I go back and I repeated a lot of ships.
Right.
So I like them to see that I'm putting in new material because I figure even if like the stage manager says, oh, I like that you added this or like that you added this. So I'm working on some of that stuff. I'm working on ideas for a bigger touring show. Because Lance Burton told me, he goes, I know you want to do the illusions. He said, but you have to get the in one in front of the curtain pieces strong. Yeah. He goes, work your butt off on those pieces. Yeah. And then one day when you've done, he's like, when you do 1,000 shows with those pieces, you can spread them out throughout a show. And that way you can perform them in front of the curtain while the illusions are set behind you.
Lance,
he's like,
Lance is one of the few illusionists who has always had fantastic in one pieces.
Yes, they're so good.
It's so good. His birdcage or his multiplying bottles or like, it's just solid work. I love
the floating ball. Yep. Oh man, that floating ball was gorgeous.
So good.
Yeah, no, all that stuff. So I'm working on the ideas for that, and I'm music driven. Yeah. So I sort of score a show first, or I'll watch as many movies and TV shows as I can. Yeah. But be focusing on something else and just listening to the music and going, okay, this can go with that. If I chop this here and fade this out here, this is in the audience. This will go here. And I like designing lights too. So I'm like, this is the lighting for this piece. So I'll put this here and go into this. And I'm trying to work more on that stuff. And I'm also trying to work on a couple more close-up segments because I usually, for each 45-minute show, I have 3 different 45s with each one has a 5 to 8 minute close-up portion. When I say close-up, I mean it loosely because it's like kind of parlor. You can still see it from the first like 60 rows, you know, but I put it on the camera. So, and I always have backup stuff in case my camera doesn't work, which has happened. We had a blackout in our Norwegian ship and I was like, okay, here we go. Here's the backup material. But I'm trying to rotate that stuff out because I'm getting way more into the close-up stuff. I love it. Yeah. Like I never dreamt I'd be able to do it.
I think probably because of Fool Us and other shows coming out that are highlighting close-up magic, audiences really react in a different way. I do probably 80% of the time I'm doing corporate entertainment, and they love it when I put stuff on the screen, which is weird. Years ago, it would be like, oh, you know, I could just watch this at home, but no, now even I remember when I signed with my agent, she was like, you do some stuff on the screen, right? And I went, wait, are you saying that because you don't want it or because you do want it? I'm so confused right now. Right. Whatever it is, I'll do that.
Yeah. Well, Pride of America, they were telling me that they're like, do you want to do a full close-up show as one of your other shows in the lounge? I'm like, you want a full show on a screen? What in the world?
That's cool. That's really cool. So I figured,
like, yeah, that could be fun. That way I like have the extra one. And I know, here's the thing is now I know I do 2 45s when I get on that ship. I'm just counting on the fact that I'll be on that ship in July. I'm just pretending that it'll be okay. But, and it's good motivation to pretend it's still going to happen. So I figure if we get a rocky night, they know other magicians have done the close-up show. So they're going to figure, oh, well, she must have a straight 45 on the screen. So I'm just putting that together now because I'm really big on transitions. Yep. I'm like, I need good transitions. Even if it's close up, it has to be theatrical with lights and sound and transitions and as much as I can get out of it. So I'm working on that. And I'm doing a lot of reading. Yeah. that too. But yeah.
That's great. Magic books or all different kind of stuff.
Oh, do you want to see a cool book?
Yes.
This was Houdini's. True story.
What?
This is from Harry Houdini's personal library. I'm like a hardcore magic history.
The Shrine of Silence.
Yep, first edition.
With the postcard in it?
On the inside. And this was from Jay Marshall's collection.
Oh,
the postcard
my goodness.
Is written on by Bess Houdini.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that sweet? I use it in one of the routines I do on the ship because I'm really big on sharing with the audience. And I also want to be honest with them that like, if I say the book belongs to Houdini,
it really does.
It better belong to Houdini.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm really honest with that stuff.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I love using it in the show because certain people come up afterward. Like I've had stories. There was a guy on the ship about a month ago. It was my last cruise before all this. His granddad owned a one of those little general like 5 and dime type stores. Yeah. And Houdini used to go in Michigan to get supplies for his show. And he sent him a thank you note. And the guy was like, I don't know if it's worth anything. I'm like, so if you get a call from David Copperfield, don't answer it.
Yeah, get ready. Yeah, get ready. It's coming.
Yeah, so
that is so cool.
Me photographs of it, and I'm like, dude, you need to hang on to this and like leave it for your kids. Like, this is such a special special piece, but I'll meet people that have stories like that because I'm sharing those things.
I love it. And people connect with it. And it's such a unique thing.
Yeah. I like the magic history stuff. I try to get more into it. Like I love the Dean Carnegie's Magic Detective.
Yeah.
Like that stuff's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So I listen to a lot of that when
I totally geek out. Yeah. Like
here.
even at the castle every now and then I'll be like, can I see Houdini's copy of this? You know,
Yes!
And like you see, and he's got his handwritten notes in it of like, this guy's a hack. I love it.
It's the best.
Oh, it's so cool.
Dude, my favorite magic book of all time is Inside Magic. Have you read that?
No.
It's like the tabloid of the golden age of magic. It's like,
that's great.
Blackstone and Houdini and all this crap going on with everybody. And it's hysterical. Nothing has changed. I swear.
Yeah, it's all the same, right?
It was so funny.
I love it. I have a photo that when I was at House of Cards last time, and that was right after they got the because they have Carter's table.
Yes, I got to see it the second time I was there.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out that you could touch it. I was like, guys, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I talked with Blake, who is the general manager there, and I was like, hey, Blake, and his dad owns the joint, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what do you think the odds are that Bill would let me wear Houdini's Kingbreaker handcuffs, sit at that table, and take a picture in front of the Carter poster? And so he's texted and he's like, yeah, go for it. So I literally have a photo of me wearing his handcuffs, like trying to not geek out. So,
that is amazing.
But I love the fact that, you know, that Houdini is like rolling in his grave, that like I'm at Carter's table wearing his handcuffs. Like he's just going to be pissed that like...
I love it though. Love it.
It's his handcuffs that he would use to like debunk other guys, and it's in front of a Carter poster.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny because I told the guys when I was at House of Cards, they had the you know they have like the Blackstone stuff in the seance room.
Oh yeah.
So I finished the show in the Carter Theater, and I came out and they were doing the seance. I'm like, guys, you do realize if you were to re-script this, you could totally have Blackstone and Houdini like going after each other in the seance, and it would be amazing.
Yep.
And it's motivation for all the stuff to happen of like, you know, Houdini's trying to come in the door, the lightning crashes, the wind picks up. And like just have them go at each other. It would be so cool.
Oh, it'd be so good. I'm gonna show you. Let's see if we can see it on here. This is me trying to not I
love that you did this.
Not geek out.
Oh my god, that's so cool. That's so cool. Your smile.
I know. I tried to do like a serious one, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I was just like, I was trying to be all
You're like
serious.
a little kid.
And then like literally
awesome
like a
photo.
second later, I'm like, oh my god, look at what I got. So I'm gonna do something with that in the show because I think it's just fun. I love that history
so cool.
stuff. Look at this. I love that this is an audio podcast and we're just turning it into visual. My wife's grandfather was a child actor in LA, and his family, they built Max Sennett built the Keystone Studio where they did like Keystone Cops and a lot of the Charlie Chaplin movies and all that stuff right next door to their house. And so every day his 9 brothers and sisters would line up. His dad knew all the directors. They'd come over and they'd be like, all right, we need 2 boys and a girl. They'd hand them over the fence. They'd go work in the movies for the day.
What?
And so he was like, he played W.C. Field's son in Barbershop. He was in he danced with Fred Astaire in Damsel in Distress. He rode Shirley Temple on the handlebars of his bicycle in Little Miss Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
But this is his work permit from when he was a kid from 1934 that said he could work in the movies.
How neat is that?
Fun? Yeah. I love it.
Dude, that's so cool.
I love it.
I do love, though, that he needed a work permit to be in the movies, but my uncle didn't need one to saw me in half.
Right. You joined the circus when you were 17, and everyone's like, yeah, it's cool. Close enough.
Yeah, it's good. You're good. Just get in the box. Be quiet.
Oh, my goodness.
Here's some candy.
I'm so encouraged by the fact that you're working and creating. I think right now it's a good reminder for a lot of entertainers. Because I talk to some people and I feel like we can have this temptation to just get in a holding pattern, just be like, well, I'm not doing shows. Yeah. But I'm telling you, when this is over and we all go back to doing work and whatever it ends up looking like, some people are going to be at just a different level because they put the time in right now. So it's a great encouragement. Thank you for that.
Well, and also too, like I'm one of those performers where, and I think so many of us are guilty of this. It's like we're performers. We put our hearts out there to people on stage. So we get down when we're not doing shows. Right. And I'm one of those people that can get in a really sad, like low place when I'm not doing shows. And I realized
Yep.
if I'm working on the show
Right.
and I'm like talking to magicians and like I love Bill Cook, like talking to Bill Cook, I'll like be like texting him during the day and he's telling me what he's 3D printing. And it's funny how like if we all stay connected and we're like, hey, I worked on this little thing today, just even reaching out to a magic friend or a comedian friend and like sharing something you thought was funny or was amazing as like a prompt gets everybody going. And it's like we can all keep each other not only working, but in like a healthy mindset.
Yeah, so good.
So that's so cool. I loved that part of it. Like I did a lecture for the IBM a couple days ago.
I saw it. It's so cool.
It was really fun. Yeah, it was really cool. But like I've had so many people reach out that are like, oh yeah, you stress so much about like being original and you know, creating your own material. And that even if you do get a standard effect, like somebody wrote in, they're like, if I buy a DVD of a trick, can I do it exactly the way it is on the DVD? Ugh. I'm like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
I'm like, you should always, and David Minkin tells me this all the time.
Yeah.
He's like, always take the trick to the next level. Kick the trick, make it better, make it better, change it, make it your own. And I'm so big on that. So it was cool to stress it and get on my soapbox a little bit.
Yep.
and then have people message me and go, hey, you know, I was doing this thing exactly the way it's done. And I listened to you and like, I figured out a way to make it my own and like to work my own hobbies into it and stuff. I'm like, yes, this is perfect.
That's so good.
Oh, it's awesome. It makes me so happy. And like hanging out with comedian friends on the ship, I feel like it's given me this new muscle that I want to work.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize I could be funny. I never tried to be funny.
Oh yeah.
And we'd be telling stories and they're like, girl, you just need to work in some of these real life stories into the show.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that. Like one of my signature effects is I sing the nations of the world from the Animaniacs and do a prediction routine. And it's so much fun. I've been doing it since I was like 14 years old. It's my favorite thing. My parents wouldn't let me sing it to them anymore. So I put it to a magic trick as an excuse to sing it at people on stage.
Oh, that's great.
But so I do the routine and I talk about traveling and I did an armed forces tour with Jason Michaels and Ben Young. We were overseas and it was Halloween. So I brought my Wonder Woman costume and I wore my Wonder Woman costume and then I got stuck in my Wonder Woman costume because our luggage got left on the tarmac and got soaked completely through, which is now why I put things in plastic bags.
Oh my goodness.
And we got to a base really, really, really late. And we were put in a military police car because they had the comedy all-stars on the paper and not the magic all-stars. So we weren't supposed to be there. We had like machine guns pointed at us and I'm dressed as Wonder Woman. They put us in the back of the police car and they make a call to the office and they're like, I've got 3 magicians in the back of the car. One of them's dressed like Wonder Woman. And I could only have imagined what that guy was thinking because I don't think they were expecting a female magician.
That's amazing.
But I've been like sharing stuff like that in the show and I realized it's just fun.
It's just fun.
It's been cool to remember some of the stories and then go, oh, well, like I can actually talk about this. Like I dated an Elvis impersonator and I got dumped by him because he cheated on me with a Priscilla Presley impersonator. True story. I tell this on stage.
Was he in character when he broke up with you?
He said to me, this is an exact quote. He goes, well, honey, you know, you'll always be my Aunt Margaret, but Elvis shouldn't end up with Anne now, did he?
See, I do a lot of comedy clubs in and around LA, and a lot of like talking to comics, they say it all the time. Everybody is funny. Comedians write it down. Like,
yes,
you know.
So I'm
learning. Not everyone's funny.
I was like, I can think of a few.
Listen, a few professionals. Cool. I can think of a few professionals. Oh, this is great.
Oh God, I've not laughed this hard, and I don't know how long.
This is so good. Thank you so much for this. I can't wait to share with people. How can folks follow your journey and see what you're doing? How can they stay in touch?
I've got a website. The website's jessicajane.com. And it's spelled normal, JESSICAJANE. None of those fancy things. There's not like a random Y in it or anything.
Right.
And then I'm
Jessica
on Facebook.
With a Q.
Yeah, that one. You know, I have a K here, and make it all fancy.
Yeah.
But I've got the website, and then I'm on Instagram at Jessica Jane Magic. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not good at it, so don't follow me on there.
Yeah.
And I'm on Facebook too.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I kind of have to take turns on social media. Like I feel like right now Instagram I'm pretty good with. Facebook I'm pretty good with. Twitter, no, I can't.
And TikTok I can't do. I got kicked off TikTok for sharing a fire eating video, and they banned me.
What?
Banned me.
I've seen some things that should be banned on TikTok. I don't know if fire eating qualifies.
And I sent them like this thing. I'm like, you do realize that you have, 21,000 items under the hashtag fire eating, right? And then they just like completely kicked me off. I couldn't even sign it.
Oh, that's awful.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's awful. But that should go in your intro now. She's been seen on Fool Us, and she's been kicked off TikTok. Here is Jessica Jane. Oh, this is so good.
That's going in my new voiceover.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, your little pre-show facts. Did you know Jessica Jane's been kicked off TikTok? Here was the photo.
She's been kicked out of preschool and kicked off TikTok.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. Oh, that's so funny. Well, thank you so much for doing this. We'll hang on here for a second because I have one magician story that I can't put on the show that I want to tell you. But I'm going to turn off the recording. Friends, go check out Jessica. Thanks so much for spending time with us. Appreciate you.